Montech, French for my tech. The Air 1000 is one of their more premium offerings. Looks like it might be the spiritual successor to the Corsair 465X case, if you remember that one, except this time we've got mesh. You want to see a case tour? Yeah, okay, mate. You want to see a build in it? Yeah, okay, mate. Want jokes involving your mother? Oh, yes, sir. But even more exciting than that, probably, is the fact that this is our first Intel ARC build. I've been hesitant to try it out, early adopter stuff, but the GPU market is bananas right now. A bit better, but it's still bananas. And having a third competitor to shake things up is always welcome. So, I'm ConceptSoup. This is a bottle of Dior Homme Parfum, and this is the Montech Air 1000 Premium case. Straight to the cable management side. We're not bothering with a super fancy unboxing. You've got a standard power supply area. How exciting. If you want to put a chunky ass 1000 watt power supply in here, you'll need to remove the drive cage. Speaking of which, here it is. The drive cage can hold a 3.5 inch drive in the tray itself, or you can put a 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch drive on the top of the cage itself. So I'd say if you're just putting a drive in to start, I'd put it on the top because it's going to make it a lot easier for you to put one inside. If you've already put a drive inside, trying to screw underneath, it's going to be a real pain in the ass. You can place the cage in a front or rear position. You can undo it from the case itself by removing these screws and just sliding it out. The front position gives you more room for cable stuffing behind the power supply. The rear position is going to allow you to put a 360mm liquid cooler in the front of the case. The front panel cables are standard front panel stuff. Personally, I never bother with the HDD LED just because I find the blinking annoying, but it's up to you. USB 3.0 cable here, USB 2.0 cable here, HD audio cable, sure. Here's the SATA power plug for the RGB lighting. Oh, beautiful. There are 4 fans pre-installed and they're daisy chained together already. The RGB terminates in a standard 3-pin 5V ARGB plug, which goes straight into your motherboard's 5V ARGB plug. The fan speed terminates into a single white 3-pin fan plug, which means no PWM control, but you can use DC control in the BIOS. For cable management, we've got 3 Velcro rings because, just like your mother, the Air 1000 likes to be tightly strapped in for the most luxurious experience. But if you don't like them, you can take them off and just use standard cable ties. Variety is the spice of life, I suppose. There are some cable grommets as well, which are kind of like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. Here is where you can install 2 2.5 inch SSDs, enough said. At the top of the case is the pre-installed ARGB hub, which is cool because there's some free slots for other ARGB devices that you might have. On the presentation side, the glass is a swing open design, so pull it open and lift it off. In this case, you can fit ITX, M-ATX and full ATX motherboards. ATX standoffs are pre-installed. There's room for a 240mm liquid cooler in the top, probably a 280mm as well, but I think it might be a bit tough to get a 280 in there in terms of clearance. I've tried it before with other cases, don't really like it, so I tend to stick with a 240. There's a decent amount of space above the motherboard mounts to accommodate this, so you don't have to skimp on your fancy RGB RAM like you'll see in the build later. In the PSU shroud, there is a graphics card pass-through hole for the power cables. Now, I love these. I think it makes the management a lot neater, though I'd say it's a bit too far over to the right. Optionally, you can also mount a couple of 120mm ARGB fans here as well, and that's probably the reason why that cable management hole is shifted off to the side. There are another couple of holes here to mount another 2.5 inch SSD or 2, but come on, guys, how many 2.5 inch drives do you realistically have? And this is where someone comes in the comments and says, I've got a million of them, but hey, you're not normal. I'm normal. The Montech Air 1000 also has a pop-out dust filter. Just push on the top, pop it out, and the filter can just slide up. Pretty nifty, easy to clean. But the real value here is that not only do you get a glass front panel, but you also get a perforated airflow panel included in the box, so you can choose whichever one you prefer. So there's the case, and I've got to say it's looking like a tasty budget alternative to the Corsair 4000D Airflow and 4000X all rolled into one. It's a little shorter from front to back, so not quite as large, but for about half the price and including the RGB fans, it's hard to argue with the value on offer here, but you can't review a case without building in it first. So let's crack on with a build charge, and I'll see you on the other side. and I'm buzzing to check out the Intel ARC A770. Hope you are too.
I freeze, I burn, I blame. I love, I hate the same. It's on my face, I cannot hide from the mistake my parents made. I'm never moving on. Not made from love, a remnant of a selfish motive. Was I needed? Do I need it to go wrong? Polarized in hair and pain, pumping through my veins. Eyes in flames, call my name. I freeze, I burn, I blame. I love, I hate the safe I embrace inside of me. I only fuel the fire. But is it wrong for me to fight against the balance of my power? History in halves, one brain. I will break the chain. Oh no, tokori wa yobu. Moeru rame koru to popu no ai to kirai ni iru. Oh no, tokori wa yobu. Moeru rame koru to popu no ai to kirai ni iru. I love, I hate the same.
Montage? Yes. Montech? Also yes. Looking pretty damn fine, if I do say so myself. The RGB elements, they work really nicely in unison, thanks to that hub. A tidy package overall. The build process was pretty easy, though it is noticeably shorter from front to back compared to something like the Corsair 4000D Airflow. That means front mounting a radiator alongside a big boy graphics card is going to be hard. But for £58, I can't fault this, guys. I can't think of another case offering this kind of value, except maybe when the MSI Mag Forge 100R, when it was at this price, but a big recommend in this price bracket for the Air 1000 Premium. So that's the case, but what about the Intel ARC A770? Spill the beans ConceptSoup. What's it like? Well, I'll tell you what, guys, here's the skinny. It's okay. Neutral face emoji. Plain Jane, boring Bob. The performance is between the RTX 3060 and 3060 Ti, but some games are still running a lot better on the Nvidia gear. I'd say it's not quite ready yet, really. Once the driver implementation is in full swing, I think we'll see it outperform the RTX 3060 pretty handily. I paid 270 quid for the A770. This is the ASRock Phantom version. Looks nice enough. It did have some coil whine, which I'd describe as moderate, but then again, it could be to do with the power supply as well. These Corsair CXF units are known to have coil whine, which does tend to improve over time. Some games are significantly worse than the RTX 3060. I'm looking at you, Cyberpunk, but in a pure benchmark like Heaven, it's decently faster. One thing I couldn't get to run was Red Dead Redemption 2. For some reason, it just wouldn't boot with this graphics card. So should you buy an Intel ARC video card? Well, the A770 I use, it's about £25 cheaper than the RTX 3060s that I can get my hands on. Usually I get RTX 3060s for about 280 quid including VAT nowadays. But I think if it was my money, I'd still go for the 3060, or better yet, something like a 6650 XT, which you can get for about the same price as this ARC. When we're spending hundreds of pounds, security of your purchase is really important, at least for me. So not this generation, I think, for Intel. But I do admire Intel's first effort. It's nothing to be sniffed at. I think the next generation could be great, though I really feel like they should come in at a lower price to entice people in, especially when there's some pretty great offers from AMD out there. Like I said, 6650 XTs for 250 quid I can get them for now from distributors. That's pretty hard to beat, guys. So a few things to consider there. That's all from me. Tell me what you thought below in the comments. I'd be especially interested to hear if you've used an Intel video card yourself, so you can tell me your experiences. But until then, catch ya!